Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 3 part 1. And yes, it is a 2-part series on this last episode solely because there is a lot of information to be had and I didn't want to make the episodes way too long. And episode number 1 and episode number 2 are already out, so if you haven't taken a look at it, go back and maybe take a look at it. And in episode number 3, we'll be talking about rig accessory options. With that being said, let's get started. Just like on episode number 1 and 2, we will not be spending a lot of time in here, but that's only because we are providing everything that you see and links in the description. There is some good things to note on this one, that there is like the custom back covers, and as promised, I will actually provide you guys with a link for you to actually have those files so that you can actually print those, whatever you want to get them printed, for free, courtesy of Inflicted Media and a friend of mine actually that dedicated the time to be able to put this into the computer and be able to design them with me, and I appreciate you, Walter Counts. And with that being said, I also apologize and I appreciate your understanding as to how long it's taken to produce this last episode. And part of the reason is because we are actually moving to another state and we're selling a house and we're buying a house, and so this is taking a little bit of extra time that we didn't account it for. So anyway, we will continue, guys, and the next item that we will be showing on part 2 is this Nitsy cage at $129.99 for the BM5 Portkeys monitor. Has some little things that they are improving on for version number 2, but it's still a really good cage. And the last item on this bunch is the SmallRig 15mm 4-inch carbon fiber rod at $12.99. So let's get started. So this first hack is actually to compensate a little bit because the cover that is for the card itself on the body of the camera, it's a little bit difficult to open. So especially if you have a rig or a cage such like the SmallRig and it is too close to it. So if you notice, you can pull it just fine, and all we did is that we put this little cloth, we made a slit on the actual cover, and then we saw the inside with a little thickness so that whenever you try to pull on it, it doesn't come out. It's very simple. Some people might not like it, but for us it actually works really well because it allows you to put handles very super close to it and not get in the way. So then again, this is something that you may not need to do on the newer generation cameras of the E2. This next thing is actually for the antenna. The antenna that comes with the camera, it's a regular little antenna, and it's okay, but it's not the best. Min.DC is a $14.99. It extends not only the range of it, but the ability for you to be able to put something closer, much closer than the default antenna. If you notice in here, I got a 90-degree adapter. Don't worry about it, guys. As I said, all of this will be provided in the descriptions. And it's pretty simple. So 90 degrees up and it goes straight up. This next accessory is a Rosette to NATO adapter, and it is actually by NiceRig, a company that I like, just like SmallRig. Is $23.99, and we are actually using this to mount the handles and the grips that we're going to be using for the camera later on. So this first cable, it is actually mentioned on episode number 2, and it is for the audio. And I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of silly. So we're gonna start connecting all of the cables in advance of a plate or anything. So if you notice in there, I'm actually mentioning the grip that we're actually using as well, that it wasn't mentioned onto the series of stuff. So the next one that we're gonna actually connect is the power cable. And the power cable that will go to a D-tap solution. Again, this is on episode number 2, but if you notice, we are connecting these cables in advance against of some of the stuff that we're going to be putting over it, because it will be a little bit difficult to get in there. The next one is the LANC cable, and this one will be providing the functions from the BM5 cameras directly to the camera body itself, and getting some of that functionality, such as like the start, stop, record, and even some of the other stuff. So we're gonna put the plate for all of you guys that have this same plate as I do. You will have to modify this plate, which is the FXLION plate, and it does allow you to do so pretty easily because it is plastic on the sides. And if you notice on my left side, I actually made a little dentation in there for me to be able to put the XLR. And on the right side on the bottom, if you notice, it actually gets a little bit tight, but nonetheless it allows you to put the 4-pin to D-tap connector, and that way you'll be able to use dual redundancy power. So this is one thing to note, is that I did put the LAN cable. If you notice, I'm running it over the top, and I'm doing so because it makes it easier to put the HDMI cable later on. This cable I made myself, and it is simply a D-tap, or I'm sorry, a DC to DC splitter. So yes, the FXLION does not have such power option, and if you guys are interested, I can actually make another little episode as to how this was done. But with that being said, all I did is that I actually created some power hack in there to be able to split the power, and the monitor, the BM5 monitor, allows you to actually put power directly from a V-mount battery. So all I'm doing in here is that I'm showing the cables that will go up to the camera, and then we're going to put that on the side. And this cable right here is the one that I was referring to, that comes for power from the camera, or yes, from the camera, the battery, I'm sorry, that will go to the monitor itself. This actual micro USB cable, we'll talk about it later on part 2, but that one will actually be providing the power to the TILTA NUCLEUS Nano motor. So we're gonna stick it on the side in there. I'm gonna show you how to connect it in here in a second, and that's what we are right now. This is the TILTA Nano NUCLEUS. This is for follow focus. It's probably one of the best solutions in there for this little camera, unless you're using very heavy cinema lenses. This is probably going to be good enough for one of those lenses that you might have already for photography, and some of the actual cinema lenses. Connects really easily, and because of the way that we have it powered through the monitor or from the monitor, it actually has a little bit extra torque. So again, this is coming from the camera, I'm sorry, from the monitor, and it is coming from the V-mount battery provided power. This cable that I'm showing you in here is actually one that I made myself, and all it is that I am actually getting the 16 volt power from the actual V-mount battery, and then I'm actually bringing it down to 5 volts, and I'm using this 5 volt micro USB connector on the other side to provide power to the TILTA NUCLEUS Nano, the actual controller itself. The controller does not work with 15 or 16 volts, so make sure that you don't put 16 volts because you might actually burn the actual controller itself. But with this little cable adapter, and if you notice, I actually had connected it from the splitter that I showed you guys that I made earlier, and there is links in the description as to the parts that you will need. Allows you to connect the TILTA NUCLEUS Nanos directly to that same battery source. If you notice in here, the TILTA NUCLEUS Nano, so all I did is that I put a 15mm rail holder straight into that little adapter that they give you, and that way I can actually put it into a 50mm rail and get it out of the way, and it's connected to the camera and it's right there. So this is the cable that I made. It's by a company called HitCard. It's $10.85 is all it costs for you guys to make this cable. I'm sure that Alvin Zhu at Alvin's Cables might make this cable for us, and that way we'll be able to provide it as a solution, or they will be able to provide it as a solution for anybody that is interested in something like this. So again, this is 5 volts for the TILTA NUCLEUS Nano. And like this, if you notice guys, some of the theme on this rig option is that you will be able to put absolutely anything and everything and drive it all from a single battery source. This cold shoe extension rig is the one that you can use for a lot of different things, but in our case, we're using it to mount this. The SmallRig mic holder, which is great. This thing is pretty solid, it's pretty hunky, however, it's a little heavy, and it's a shotgun microphone holder, and it is pricey at $49. However, I think that if you are using a shotgun microphone, that you do need a pretty solid solution. If you're buying some of the Deity microphones, they provide you with some of the mounts, but in my case, I'm using this one just to show you guys it. And I'm using the S2 microphone. This is a great microphone to be using with this camera, but it is big and it is heavy. It is so heavy that the little rubber dampeners that this mic holder has make it so that even if you try to center it, it's still heavy on the front. If you notice, it actually just keeps on going towards the front. But one good thing is that the weight itself, so I'm showing in here that is actually on an angle, but one good thing is that the actual XLR weight of this 90-degree one is just enough to make it level. So works pretty good, so not gonna break it. The next thing that we're showing is the monitor holder, and this one is great. Again, it's by SmallRig. It is like a hunk of metal and is super nicely made, and it is again a little bit expensive, but at the same time, if you're putting a $500 and some monitor on top of it, $37.99 is not so bad. It gives you the abilities to go back and forth and 360 degrees. This grip handle that I put the link for earlier comes in with a magnetic Allen wrench, that it is a good thing to tighten those connections such as this one in here, because I did notice that on any of this type of monitor holders it comes a little bit loose, but if you tighten it like this, I haven't had any problems myself. We're almost getting to the top in here, and we are using the Portkeys monitor yet again. And the reason being is because I believe personally that this is the best monitor to use with the ZCAM camera. And the reason being is because there is a lot of features that are specifically made for this camera. Now, this monitor overall is a great option for a bunch of different cameras, but if you are looking at the ZCAM monitor, and one of the best monitors out there, again, in my opinion, is probably this one. So this mess of wires that we have shown you guys earlier are the 3 wires that actually will be connecting onto the Portkeys BM5 monitor. One of them is for power, one of them is going for control of the TILTA NUCLEUS NANO motor, and the last one is for the control of a lot of the camera settings through the monitor itself. So with that being said, once that you actually connect them all, then that's it. This is now showing you the 3 connectors. One of them is from the camera control, that micro USB that went to the LAN connector on the back of the camera. The other one on the top is for the follow focus, and the last one is for the power. So all I'm doing in here is showing you guys the 3 cables that are actually connected now to the monitor. And look at how nice that sleeving actually works for this cable. So it makes it super nice. Thank you guys again for joining on episode number 3, part 1. And as you can tell, we still have a little bit. We're almost there, guys. Thank you so much. So hang around and stick for a little bit for episode number 3 and part 2.